All right, what is going on? How you doing? Welcome to Talkin' Buffalo Podcast, part of the Blue Wire Network. Episode, by the way, 444 of this podcast. Just keep chugging along, man. Hope everybody's doing well. It is Casual Friday. Well, this is dropping on Friday. Anyway, thank you very much, as always, for checking in, whether you're on the audio side, whether you're checking this out on YouTube. As always, I appreciate all you. Like I said, Casual Friday. That means I am joined, as always, by my good buddy, host of the Maintenance Day podcast, Joe Yerdon. Let's, before we even exchange any pleasantries, let me start right here, okay? I asked, and I'm gonna give our listeners, our viewers, a little bit of inside information on our process a little bit here, right off the jump. So the NFL schedule gets released Thursday at 8 p.m. Typically, Joe and I tape Casual Fridays Thursday somewhere around lunchtime. That's what just works best for us. But every now and then, there's if there's a good reason, we will hold off taping until late at night. Now, taping late at night kind of sucks. When I say late at night, we don't even start till 10:30, 11 p.m. That means we roll for an hour to an hour and a half. So you're talking 12:30. By the time I edit this, process it, do a little bit of the normal podcasting stuff, it's 2:30 in the morning before I got this up published and I could go to bed. If it's for a great reason, it's worth it. Like I Owen Power's first home game, I remember that we tape late at night. RJ's last home game or whatever it was. His last, I don't remember what it was, but it was a couple weeks ago and we did it again late at night. There was actually in the NFL draft. That's what it was too.
Yeah,
it was the NFL draft and also RJ. So we taped late at night. Those are commitments that are worth it. I asked Joe, Tuesday night, maybe Wednesday morning.
Yeah, Tuesday night, I think.
It was Tuesday night. I'm like, so what do you think about this week? Maybe we'll tape late at night because the NFL schedule comes out at 8:00, and we'll want to talk about that and break that down. Joe's response, I'm only paraphrasing in the slightest here, was, "Are you fucking serious?"
Yeah, that's almost quoted exactly as what it was.
The NFL schedule released in the world of Joe Yerdon and Patrick Moran, because this is something we are on the same page. That ain't worth having to stay up and pull an all-nighter basically for. So on that note, we are taping this around 1-ish, and the schedule has not been leaked out by now. I thought maybe it would be. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. And so as of right now, we know a handful of games, including one that we're going to talk about in a second. But anyway, how you doing? And I know you got a good joy out of Twitter on Thursday afternoon with that schedule leak. Twitter just dunking on pretty much everyone who's been following it for the last couple of weeks.
I'm kind of mad at them, not for misleading everybody and, just putting out stuff that, plausibly believable. I'm more mad at them that they Scooby-Dooed themselves right away. Like they pulled the mask off immediately and we're like, haha, we fooled you. Like, no, man, keep that bit going forever. Like as long as until people are just like, no, this guy's full of shit. You got to ride that till it's done. Now, I mean, I'm just so disappointed. Like that, I get it. You want to put one over on people and be like, got him. Like that's great. It's good fun. It's great trolling. But like, man, you had such a good bet. You just cracked 10,000, dude. Yeah. Like, keep it going until people, like enough people are like, nah, this is bullshit.
For
like,
people,
you gotta ride that till it's completely kicked.
Sure. For people who don't know what we're talking about, there was a Twitter account. I don't remember what the handle was.
NFL
schedule leaks or something. And they were posting admittedly bullshit guessing games, fake confirmed scheduling for certain teams and getting fans to follow. And they did get over 10,000 followers. So anyway, and by the way, also for people watching or listening, it is May. It is absolutely beautiful outside, which I got to point that out. I mean, how many weeks have we taped this show where I just bitched, like an old grumpy ass man about how cold it's been? I got to point out it is absolutely lovely. With that, my man Joe Yerdon, who's been doing this now we've been doing this Casual Friday for almost a year. that means you know that window's open.
Wow, only a year?
And the west
It
side.
feels like it's been longer. I don't know.
We've been doing this every Friday for about a year now.
Wow.
A little bit more than a year, actually. I'm gonna have to look it up, but I know it's really close.
I don't know why it feels longer. Like it's been fun. Like it's not like it's been like, Jesus, another casual Friday with Pat. God, why do I do this? No, it's not like that at all.
But with the warmer weather, Joe's window pops open. And as we all know, Joe lives like pretty much next door to the fire department. So
yeah,
we're going to get back. And I kind of miss that, man. I kind of miss hearing the fire trucks every single week. So when you hear it on this show, you know where it's coming from.
Yeah, I live on a it's a pretty busy street, Elmwood Village area. I'm not going to dox myself here, but man, as you're talking, a motorcycle goes roaring down the road, and I'm like, okay, all right. It's like on cue. We had that scheduled. I'm waiting for like a whole convoy of 18-wheelers or motorcycles to come rolling by, so I can just be like, I can't hear a word you're saying, Pat. Sorry.
Right.
It's like doing this outdoors, but I'm not outdoors in the sunshine and having a good time. I'm in my tucked away in my apartment with, I got the shades open at least, but yeah, it's gets noisy. I didn't realize how much noise the windows keep out until I popped open the window the other day, and I was like, oh man, yeah, it's loud. Like I'm cranking up the TV. I'm just kind of like, oh my God. Like, okay.
Let's get into a little bit of schedule talking again. Before we talk about the Bills schedule, what's your take on people? I know what it is, but you could tell everybody watching and listening right now. What's your take on this whole process? We get why the NFL does it. The NFL is literally at 365 days a year. They want to be at the top of the news cycle every single day. So we understand why, but some people just, whether it's guessing, whatever they're doing, man, it just absolutely dominates. Like this week has been all about the schedule, trying to find out leaks and guessing games. What's your take on it? Especially when you know every single opponent that you're going to play.
Right. That's my biggest issue with this. You already know who you're playing. Like it's not even like it's a secret and
you know where it's going to be, whether it's on at home or on the road.
Right. So I mean, like, okay, so they're playing the NFC, like the Bills are playing the NFC North teams this year. Like, okay, the only games I would care about when they're being played are what they're playing. Well, they're playing Green Bay. Are they playing Green Bay at home or in Lambeau?
They're playing Green Bay at home.
Yeah, so who cares? Like, big whoop. They're playing the Bears on the road, but the Bears stink, and who cares? Like, are they going to play them in the beginning of September or like the end of December? Who cares? The Bears are bad. They should handily beat the Bears. So what? But like, you're playing Minnesota and you're playing Detroit, and like if you're on the road, well, they're in domes, so who cares? Again, like it's not even something where you can get like worked up about it because it doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter. So like, and listen, I get it. People want to start thinking ahead, and they want to, maybe figure out like if they're going to do a vacation built around going to see a game or like a trip, whatever the deal is. If they got family in that area, they'd be like, hey, we can go see family, blah, 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 blah. Like, fine, I get it. But, man, like everybody just chill, please. Like,
I get it to an extent. I agree with you. I agree.
The thing that gets me though is like, are fans booking hotels and stuff like the second it comes out? I mean, probably there's some.
There's some.
I mean, that's like a sports writer thing though, man. Like, every writer that travels, every single one, the second that schedule comes out, they've got the Marriott window open and they got, anything else they need to do, like the flight schedule, like, flight stuff, whatever. They've got it open immediately to be like, book, done. Like that's like, cause they have to, like, that's the job. But like, I don't know, man. Like it's goofy, but like, I don't know. I think you either have to be like, I don't give a crap, or you lean way into it and just be like, this is my life. I'm doing this. I'm going to figure out, like, I'm going to get the schedule matrix myself. I'm going to do this. I'm going to be the NFL scheduler, when I'm done doing this job. Like, that's going to be me. I'm going to do that. Just you either go all in or you just say, I don't care.
I get it to an extent. I do understand fans want to, as soon as humanly possible, media people as well, like you said, you want to start booking those trips and trying to plan as quick as you can. Now, if you could get information a week or two ahead of time, then I could see being as obsessive. But once it gets to be, I mean, what's the difference if you find out at noon or 8 p.m.? Is it really going to make that much of a difference? Now, I do, again, now to be fair, I spent 5 years in Florida and I was very eager to find out every year when the Bills were coming to Miami, because I'd have a couple friends and they would come down, and
Sure.
that was a big thing. So that was fun. But yeah, on the whole, it's certainly not worth taping and staying up all night for
No.
doing this later. I will say,
No.
as of this
I was
taping,
I was so annoyed when you were just like, well, let's
You were
do this
too.
late because the schedule. I was like, you paraphrased it correctly. Are you fucking serious? Like,
you're
come on.
right. Well, I'll say this. So we're not going to talk about or guess. There's no sense of guessing, because by the
No.
time people are listening or watching this, they already know, because the schedule will be
Right.
official. So when
They've
you
already
wake up
booked their
Friday,
hotels and their rooms, and they're probably
Exactly,
they don't even care
exactly.
about our complaints. They're like,
So-
whatever, man. I already got it done.
we're not going to guess on this episode. We're not going to speculate on stuff that I don't
No.
feel comfortable knowing for sure that it's happening. I do know a couple though. So as we tape this again, this is late, or not late, mid-afternoon on Thursday. And I want to save the best here for last, because I know you're going to have an opinion on this. It's already been confirmed by the league. The Bills are playing week 2 at home, Monday Night Football against Tennessee. We've known that now for a handful of days. That's week 2, Monday Night Football. I also am confident in saying on this podcast, from people that I know and trust, that the Bills are they're playing Christmas Eve, which is Saturday. There's only a couple games on Saturday, and they're playing Christmas Eve against the Chicago Bears. So they're in Chicago, which is week 16. And I was kind of wrong there. I mean, they are playing Chicago Christmas Eve, but there's lots of games on Christmas Eve, playing a lot of games on Saturday. But they're playing Christmas Eve, Saturday, Chicago. The following week, they're playing Monday Night Football at Cincinnati, which is week 17.
That's interesting.
That will be the last Monday Night Football game of the year. So that'll be the ESPN Monday Night Football season finale. Buffalo at Cincy. That could be a huge game. We don't know the opponent, but you got to assume the Bills are going to be at home for week 18, because they're confirmed to play on the road week 16 and 17. And I've never heard of a team ever that had to play 3 straight road games to end the season. So you got to assume that they're going to be at home. And again, by the time you're listening, you already know this. I'm not going to talk about the first week, because I don't know, as we're taping this. Heavy speculation is the Rams. But here is what I can confirm for sure is my team, the Buffalo Bills, Joe Yerdon's team, the Detroit Lions, are playing on Thanksgiving. That is happening. It is confirmed. I feel confident enough that I can talk about it on this show ahead of time now. The Bills will be at Detroit at 12:30 p.m. Thanksgiving Day. Now, everybody if you watch this or you listen to this regularly, you know Joe is a Lions fan and he's a Bills watcher. We talk about that all the time. What are your thoughts, man? Bills, Lions, Thanksgiving.
I don't like it, and it's not for the reasons. Like, I'm used to the Lions losing on Thanksgiving. Let's be real. Like, they're never good. They always, and the NFL's always been really good about putting a marquee team against them to be like, yeah, whatever. Let's really show off how bad or how good the good team is, because these guys stink. So I'm used to that. I'm more annoyed because some friends of mine and myself, our plan was we were going to go, provided it wasn't Thanksgiving. We were going to go to Detroit for the game, because they, COVID, all the stuff has kept people from going to, kept us from doing any like road games. I mean, there's other reasons for stuff with some of my friends, but like there hasn't been an opportunity like to go to a close road game anyways. Like, it's, Detroit was like, oh, well, easy drive, easy trip, get there, maybe go like the day before, hang out in Detroit, have some fun, and then go to the game Sunday, leave after the game, get home Sunday night. Great. Perfect. Thanksgiving? No, absolutely out, because it's a holiday. Like, that's not myself included. Our families are not that big into it to be like, let's drag everybody. We'll have turkey in the parking lot. It'll be great. Like, we're not doing that shit. Like, that's just not happening. So it's annoying from that perspective, because that's a slam dunk, easy road game to do, but you put it on a holiday, and it's a holiday that is meant to be hung out with family. It's not even, it's not like it's like Arbor Day and you're just kind of like, yeah, whatever, man. Like, fine. We'll just, we'll plant a tree on the way out. It's great. But, it's Thanksgiving, man. You got to be home with family. Like, that's the thing. Like, I mean, listen, for myself, personally, I've never been able to go home for Thanksgiving because why? Well, the Sabres would have a home game the night before and the night after Thanksgiving. So going home was right out. Like that was
Right.
never happening. So, you know, so like this year, I don't know, depending on what happens, career-wise, life-wise, whatever, like I'm going to go home for Thanksgiving. There is no chance I'm going to Detroit for Thanksgiving. Like, I don't know, maybe my friends get permission from their wives, their families, their girlfriend, whatever. They get permission from them to go to Detroit for a game. Cool, good for them, but I ain't going. Like, I'm sorry, I'm going to be with my family. Like that's how it goes.
Well, if for any
and I'll
reason,
get to ignore the game too, like, which is great because I don't need to watch them. It's the perfect combo. People are like, oh, what a bad game to start the day. It's like, don't watch. Like, sit around and smell the food being cooked. It's great.
There goes the my grand idea of inviting you to my house for Thanksgiving, and while you're sitting there
Just
on the
laugh
couch
at me
watching the
the whole
game,
time.
having some hidden cameras posted up around various spots so they can see your facial reactions.
No, you know what those cameras would see? They would see me looking on my phone, just being like, I don't care about this. And even if here's the thing, like, even if the Lions are passably good next year, which they're starting to get some,
listen,
they're getting some good talk. Like, they're going to be on Hard Knocks this year. Dan Campbell's really likable.
Sure.
They've got some nice offense. Like, whatever. Like, I get it. I get why people are just kind of like, oh, no, maybe they'll be okay. Like, no, man, it's Detroit. Like, whatever good things you might think happen will not happen. I guarantee that.
This will be the third time now in 4 years that the Bills are playing on Thanksgiving. Not a big fan either, personally. I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm not taking a pot shot at you and your team. I feel much better about it playing the Detroit Lions than I do if it would have been at Baltimore, because there were some rumors out there that the Bills are going to be playing at Baltimore.
Schedule guy said Baltimore.
Fake schedule guy, sure. It was going to be Buffalo at Baltimore Thanksgiving night. I remember back last year. Now, the Bills were, significantly favored to beat New Orleans, but I still remember last Thanksgiving, I had some football anxiety going on all day. You're a Lions
sure
fan.
It wasn't you sure it wasn't indigestion, because that was like an 8:30 start. I couldn't blame you if you're just like,
you spent all day thinking about it. Now you're a Lions fan. Forget about the fact that they're not good. You're used to this. This is what you know every year. You know that the team that you root for is playing at 12:30 on Thanksgiving. It's something that throughout the course of your adulthood, you've just become accustomed to.
Yeah.
This is not something
fun. Like I actually enjoy it.
Yeah.
Honestly, like I think it's great. Like they've been doing it for 70 years now, like 60, 70 years. I think they've been playing on Thanksgiving Day. Like people want to move them off there. And I'm like, listen, if you're moving the Lions off there, you got to get the Cowboys the hell off.
No.
Because the Cowboys horned in on the action. Like, why should the Lions just have their own day for the game? We're America's team. Shut up.
Let me say this too, Joe, and this is another reason why I don't want to. I mean, you talk about Detroit being improved, and I think they are as well. But let's just say that they're not. Okay,
I'll tell you they're not.
I think
how about that? How about I take the mystery away?
They got some good young players, and I like their coach. But you know what I keep thinking about last year? I won't forget this either. I did a show on Saturday night at Resurgence. It wasn't my show, it was on someone else's show, Jay Spencer, and we had a panel of people on talking about the Jacksonville game. They were playing Jacksonville the next day. And everyone else refused to even talk about the possibility of losing to Jacksonville because it was the fucking Jacksonville Jaguars. We all know what happened. The thought of the Bills playing on Thanksgiving and losing to the Detroit Lions quite literally would ruin my Thanksgiving if it were to happen.
Well,
as a Bills fan.
It should.
I can't imagine how bigger fanatics of the Buffalo Bills would feel if their Thanksgiving got spoiled. I don't know. I'm just not that guy. Generally speaking, the one thing I liked about the drought is year after year, the Bills barely ever played on primetime. If I had my way, and I've said this before, the Bills would be playing 17 games, 1 p.m. on Sunday. That's what I like.
It's the best.
That's what I want.
It's the best time.
And I agree. Obviously that's not the case anymore. You're quite used to that now at this point, or at least almost every game, 1 p.m. on Sunday. I like that. That was the one good thing about sucking for the Bills that I actually enjoyed, because I love Sunday 1 p.m. football, especially when my team is playing. I don't like Thursday night football. If the Bills lose, I kind of
Thursday night's horrible.
win or lose, actually. I don't care as much about Sunday when the Bills have already played. Or if the Bills are playing Sunday night or Monday night, I don't care as much about the afternoon slate. I like 1 p.m. Sunday. I just feel completely locked in. And again, I'm not going to guess because we're taping this ahead of time, but we know the Bills are going to have several non-Sunday afternoon games. How do you feel about, I assume you're the same way. Like if you could be in charge of the Detroit Lions schedule or any team, if you could be in charge of the Bills schedule, whoever it may be that you follow, do you like primetime games? I know I'm in the minority and I feel grumpy by saying this, but I don't. I like Sunday 1 p.m. That's who I am.
This is very old guy of me, but I used to really like, there used to be some kind of allure to it because the primetime games were,
sure,
it was Monday Night Football. That was, and then Sunday Night Football. That was it. You get the late game on ESPN on Sunday night. That was pretty cool. It felt weird just because, it wasn't a 1 or a 4 o'clock game. You're just like, wow, there's another game. Like, okay, we got to stay up late, because, I think it's some of those games like back, late 80s, like they would throw the Raiders on because Bo Jackson was great. So they're just like, throw them on Sunday night, throw them on Monday night. Like, great. Like Raiders weren't that good. Like they're okay, but like, whatever. But like they had the stars. Now it's like you've got a primetime game on a Thursday night, every Thursday.
I hate it. Yeah.
Oh, I would ban Thursday night games like instantaneously. Just get rid of them. They're horrible. Like
we know why they do it, but yeah, I agree. Football,
right.
It's just I don't like it. Yeah.
Like your teams get a short week. Like it's stupid. I hate it. I hate every bit of the Thursday night games. But like, there's nothing special about them now. Like the first couple of weeks of the season, like you're getting a Thursday night game. You're getting a Sunday night game. You're getting two. You might get 2 Sunday night games. You might get 2 Monday night games too. Like okay. Like if your team's playing on the West Coast on Monday night and to open the season, you might be looking at a 10 o'clock start. Screw that, man. Like that sucks. Like there's no fun in that. Or I mean, they switch around. You do a 5 o'clock and an 8 o'clock start, but even still, like 8 o'clock, the game's gonna be on until 11:30. That's stupid. You're waiting all day. For the stupid game. And I know I'm playing right into the Carrie Underwood Monday night song. Waited all day for Monday or Sunday night. Like just, I waited all day because you idiots scheduled it for them. Like I'd rather have it at 1 o'clock. Like, let me start my day with the game. It's over by 4. I can digest every bit of post game. Like if it's a good turnout, I digest every bit of post game. If it's a bad game, I turn it off for a while. I'll dive into it when I want to after the fact, because that's how I am with a losing team. I'm just like, I just get out of my face. I don't even want to look at you. I'll look at it later when I want to. But like there's not a lot of special stuff about primetime games because the Thursday night thing ruins it because Thursday night is like every team in the league gets a Thursday night game. It seems like. You could basically set your watch by when Tennessee Jacksonville plays on Thursday night. Because it happens every friggin' year. Like that's a Thursday night game. It's like, cool, I'll ignore it. Or like a Cincinnati Cleveland game. Like, cool, yeah, forget it. I'm not watching that one. Or a Baltimore Cleveland. Who cares? Like, you get these matchups where it just doesn't even matter anymore. And listen, I know like money factors into that. Like that was like kind of a throwaway game, but now you get Amazon involved with stuff. NBC's involved. ESPN. Like everybody's throwing money, so they want some kind of marquee matchup on these games, and it's like. Cool, I guess, but geez, I don't know. I'm worn out by it. Like it's too much. It's too much. It's not special anymore. It's not like I can get gassed up about, if say Detroit ever gets good, I'm not getting gassed up about them being on Monday night or Sunday Night Football. Like if anything, it's more stressful. It's just like, get it out. Like, I don't need all this attention. Please get it away from me. I don't want any of this. I didn't ask for this. Please.
I can understand when the Bills were on the come up over the last couple of years and you're like, hey, look at my team. I want you to watch my team. Watch how good we are. You outside of Buffalo need to know how good we already know we are. I get wanting that at that point. Now, and I want to talk about this in a future episode as well. Now we're the hunted. We're the Buffalo Bills are the favorites to win the Super Bowl right now. Mm-hmm. They're the hunted. And they're not the hunters anymore. And I don't know. One of the things I worry about, and again, we got plenty of weeks in the offseason to hit on this, but I want to spend some time talking about concerns over being the favorites. So that concerns me as well. I'll wrap this part up by saying this, though, when it comes to the Bills. If they're going to play on Thanksgiving, if they're going to play on Christmas Eve, and they are, I am glad it's Detroit and I am glad it's Chicago because, again, if you're a big fan and you're taking this shit personally, a Bills loss will ruin your Christmas. It'll ruin your Thanksgiving, and the likelihood of them beating those teams is pretty good. And by the way, they have played pretty damn well in prime time, especially Thanksgiving over the last couple of years as well. But I don't know, man. Like I said, sometimes I feel like that grumpy old guy, just pointing this and that.
Yeah.
I still miss the days where all the games except for the Monday night game were Sunday at 1 or 4. And by 7:30 p.m., you had your Sunday night to watch TV, hang out with your fam, whatever it was that you're going to do. But now it's football, football. And I get it. I mean, it's one of the biggest businesses on earth.
I'll tell you this. The scary thing for Bills home games is that they're going to get a lot more 4 and 4:30 games now too. Because that was always like the New England time to play, even at home. Like the Patriots would be playing somebody at 4:00 because that's the sub prime time game. Like that's even more eyes because it's afternoon on the West Coast or whatever. The thought of the Bills hosting a lot of home 4:30 games is frightening because everybody's gonna still start tailgating the same time in the morning, and everybody's gonna be gassed up for an extra 3 more hours, and then a couple more hours into the game. Oh my God. Like that's like that. If I'm the NFL, I avoid scheduling for any 4:00 games in Buffalo because my God, like at least with like Monday night games for that reason, it's weird because you still got to go to work or, I don't know. A lot of people will take that day off and be like, whatever, I'm going, I'm going to go tailgate all day.
Right.
But man, a 4:00 Sunday game that's deadly. That's a bad scene waiting to happen. If it turns out to be like an ugly game, like there's some like blown call or some shit, man, it won't be just dildos thrown on the field, man. It'll be everything else. It'll be throwing other fans on the field.
Well, yeah, and without guessing, I mean, again, we're taping this before the schedule actually comes out. One thing I'm confident in is barely half these games this year, or home or road, whatever it's going to be, are going to be Sunday 1 p.m. games. I don't like that, but on the other hand, a lot of people do. Anyway, here's what I want to do. I'll take a real quick break, and I want to come back on the other side. We'll talk Sabres. We're going to do our starting 5 draft like we do every week. I also want to talk about something that I feel like does not get talked about enough in Buffalo in light of recent events that happened this week. So be right back with that. All right, I am back. Casual Friday, Joe Yerdon from Maintenance Day Podcast. So this week, and it got me thinking, and we're old. We're not old, but we're old enough to understand about Buffalo and sports and history more. And Bob Lainer passed away this week. And for people who don't know, this, in my opinion anyway, is the best athlete to ever come out of Buffalo, New York, ever. And if not the best, he's certainly the most accomplished. That's for damn sure. And you want to talk about a guy who's Buffalo born through and through. Born in Buffalo, went to Bennett High School, went to St. Bonaventure for college. And this man, and again, now and there are nowadays where, once in a while, Bonner or UB, they go on a little bit of a run and they're pretty good and they get a little bit of attention. This dude led St. Bonaventure to the NCAA Final Four. St. Bonaventure back in 1970, and they lost to Jacksonville in the semifinals. And he didn't play that game because he got hurt in the regional final. He hurt his knee the game before. But this guy, again, a legend from Buffalo, a legend in high school, with the St. Bonaventure, was a legend in college, the first overall pick in the NBA draft. I think it was, I'm looking at my notes now, 1970 by the Detroit Pistons. He was an 8-time All-Star. He was an All-Star Game MVP. His number 16 that he wore in the NBA is retired by both the Detroit Lions and the Milwaukee Bucks.
Pistons.
Pistons, yeah, Detroit and Milwaukee.
The Lions should retire it too.
The Lions should retire it too. He's a Pro Basketball Hall of Famer. And for his career, he averaged 20 points and 10 rebounds. So he averaged 20 and 10 for his career. This guy's from Buffalo, and I understand why, especially younger fans are like, well, I've heard of him, and I really don't know anything about him. Hopefully you do now. This guy is an icon. Again, he is the best to ever come out of Buffalo. The only other person I'll even hear an argument for is Warren Spahn. He grew up in South Buffalo in South Park High School, one of the great baseball pitchers of all time. But Bob Lainer, we toss the term around GOAT all the time. Bob Lainer was the GOAT, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I mean, 73 years old, by the way. He passed away this week.
I've gotten to know a bit about Bob's history because my dad, one of my dad's best friends in high school. My dad played high school basketball. He didn't play in college. Whatever, it's fine. But one of his best friends was Billy Calbo, who was the starting point guard for the St. Bonaventure team in 1970. And so, like my dad was in Billy's wedding. So who else was in Billy's wedding? Bob Lainer.
Really?
Oh yeah. Bob Lainer was one of his groomsmen. I don't know that he was his best man, but he was definitely one of the groomsmen. So I've seen the wedding picture, and let me tell you, there's no more 1970s picture than that wedding photo. My goodness, the suits are incredible. Like I can't even describe them. It's amazing. But my dad's like 6'2". My dad's like my height, 6'2", and Billy's point guard size. And so like the whole wedding is just like guys are like there, and then there's Bob Lainer, 7 foot tall, sticking out, and he's got the big afro, and and my dad would tell me stories about, he'd go visit Billy at Bona's and hang out, party for the weekend, whatever. And so there's one story my dad tells me is like, Bob was away for like that day. And so like Billy's just like, yeah, just crash in Bob's bed, just stay there. So Bob gets back a little early, and my dad's sleeping. Bob comes in the room and sees him. What are you doing in my bed? And he's, oh, geez, I'm sorry, Bob. And he's like, no, man, I'm just kidding. Just stay there. It's fine. but getting to hear about, how good that team was in 1970, and, learning about his career and, how great he was with the Pistons and the Bucks. And he was just like just an incredible guy. I remember going, my dad taking us to the Basketball Hall of Fame in Springfield, Mass, and walking in the front, the front entrance. This is before they redid it. This was, the Hall of Fame before they redid it was a little weird, but at the front entrance, they had one of Bob Lainer's shoes right at the front entrance. And Bob famously had size 22 feet, which is crazy. But to see like a shoe that big, I'm like, geez, like that's a boat. My dad's like, yeah, you should see him in person. I was like, I can't even imagine. Like, I'd be stepping on his feet, from 5 feet across the room. But like, I met Billy a couple of times, and I never got to meet Bob, unfortunately. But like the stories about that 70 team are just like something else, because that team was really good. And Bob getting hurt, before facing Jacksonville, which Jacksonville's starting center was Artis Gilmore, another great NBA player, and
big man,
big guy. And the fact that Bob wasn't there to D up against him and probably outdo him. Nothing, no slight against Artis. Artis was a good player, but like Bob Lainer would have had his day with Artis. Now it would have been a great matchup, but
sure,
when you got that kind of a discrepancy, like Bonas didn't have that good a shot. They played really well against Jacksonville, but back in those days, the way the game was played, if you had a big guy that was really good like that, you could go really far. And that was proof for Bonas. Like they were able to go really far because they had an ace in the hole, Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, man. And again, he played really before our time, especially in college, and even in the NBA. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you, because I am old. I was alive when he was playing. I was alive when he was making All-Stars games, but I personally don't remember him playing. I was too young for that. But I will say this. Now, you live in the west side of Buffalo. You live in the city. I was born and raised on the west side of Buffalo. I went to Lafayette High School. So I know I've always been very partial to the Buffalo Public Schools. I felt like there's been some great athletes, especially basketball players who, never really got the respect they deserve. But I remember even, in the late 80s, early 90s, hearing so much about Bob Lainer. And like I said, man, I didn't want to do a podcast episode and have somebody who I consider, and I think a lot of people do and should consider the greatest to ever come out of Buffalo, and at least not acknowledge what he meant to sports here. And to carry a team like St. Bonaventure to the Final Four, it blows my mind. And again, it's not like he was great in college, was a high draft pick, and then was a bust in the NBA. Your boy made 8 All-Star games and averaged 20 and 10 for his entire career. Got his number retired by 2 teams. So I don't know, man. I feel like if anybody's like Warren Spahn has his own street in South Buffalo, Warren Spahn Way. I'd like to see something done with Bob Lainer, man. Maybe
Yeah.
kind of statue, something symbolic, downtown Buffalo or something like that. I feel like younger sports fans should be educated more on just how impactful and amazing this guy was.
Yeah. Even up by where Bennett High School, I don't know that it still works as a school. Again, not being from here, I
Same,
don't know. I don't know Bennett.
same. I think it is, but yes.
But I think where Bennett was where FC Buffalo plays their games now. I think that's
All High Stadium, or that's what it was called anyway.
Yeah, I think it's still called All High. But yeah, but there's a lot of side streets there. Even like that stretch of Main Street. Call it Bob Lainer Way. Put a statue somewhere up, like put it right in front of Bennett. Like do something with that because the guy deserves. And you only have like TNT did a quick, like a 5-minute panel discussion. The night where they found out Bob died, and you could see Ernie Johnson was pretty broke up. He was affected by it.
Sure.
But hearing him talk about Bob Lainer, hearing Kenny Smith talk about him, hearing Shaq talk about him. Now, Shaq's story was great because Shaq talked about how he didn't pay attention to any NBA stuff growing up as a kid.
Right.
And he said Shaq talked about the first All-Star game he went to, and he's got his old man with him. His old man was Army guy, ball buster, and Shaq's walking around, and Bob Lanier's there, and his old man goes, you know who that? He's like, yo, you got to see that. You see who that is? And he's like, I don't know who that is. Like slaps his arm. He says, that's Bob Lainer, man. Have some respect. And so he goes and shakes hands with Bob and talks to him, and he talks about how later down the road when Shaq had his shoe line going, and he looks at Bob's feet, he's like, man, your feet about as big as mine. He's just like, yeah, they are. And he's like, I got you. I'll hook you up with shoes. It's like nice thing to do for a guy. But to be able to have a reputation where everybody was like, he's just the nicest guy. Barkley went on and on and on about how nice of a guy Bob Lainer was. And that's a huge credit to somebody like that, because you think about the big guys back in the day, like Bill Russell commands everybody's respect, because, all the titles, all the crap that he had to go through, everything that he did in the game, all that stuff is just like, he's the chairman of the board. He walks in the room, everybody stops. But Bob Lainer was the guy that everybody was like, man, respect that guy, respect everything that he's ever done because he did it well. Willis Reed gets a lot of hype for what he did with the Knicks, and he was great. Willis Reed was really good. But man, Bob Lainer never really got that attention. It comes from playing in Detroit, comes from playing in Milwaukee. I mean, playing in Milwaukee after Kareem was there, that's some. I mean, big shoes to fill, but almost Bob Lainer had big shoes, but Kareem is, Kareem's, top 3, top 2 all time. That's a tough guy to follow up, but they retired his number still. You're able to do that in those years following. That's pretty damn impressive. So to have that kind of reputation where everybody's just like, man, I love Bob Lainer. That's I don't know. That's a hell of a legacy to have, to go along with all the accomplishments on the court, to have people just be like, man, I love that guy. I mean, that's great. That's beautiful.
I'd love to see this. Like I said, I would love to see the city do something further. I know they've honored him in some ways. I'd like to see more, but I think he's deserving to put a wrap on that. Every week, Joe and I, as people, if you're watching, listen, our favorite thing is our starting 5 draft. We have a lot of fun with that, and we do a variety of topics. Let's put it this, and we're going to get to ours in just a couple of minutes here for this week. But I'll say this: if Joe and I were ever to do a best athlete to ever come out of Buffalo draft, we would be fighting each other to get the number 1 pick so we could take Bob Lainer. There wouldn't be any controversial decisions there at the top. Even I couldn't fuck that up, man. Bob Lainer is the GOAT when it comes to Buffalo. No ifs, ands, and buts about it. Anyway, all right, so before we get to our 75 draft, I do want to talk, sort of Sabres for a minute. By the way, thank God, at least I did minimal prep with you, because I told you what we were going to talk about. The Amherst were winning 3-0 at the end of the first period in game 1 against Utica in the playoffs. I stopped watching, or I got off Twitter. I didn't watch it. I got off Twitter. I assume they won. In my notes, I'm like, I'm going to ask you, about game 1, the Amherst winning. Joe's like, they lost. It's 6 straight unanswered goals. I almost don't even want to know what happened in that game. But here's what I do know, and I'm going to butcher. I'm so terrible at hockey names. Arttu Ruotsalienen?
Ruotsalienen.
Him.
Yeah.
He scored 2 goals. He has 5 goals in 3 playoff games. And you put up a tweet this week. I thought this was a really, really good tweet. And I think it's very thought provoking. I want to share it with people. If you're watching or if I'm going to read it, Joe tweeted, which is more believable? And he pointed out 2 scenarios. He says R2 is either 1, a fantastic AHL player, but a questionable NHL level talent, or 2, he's a definite NHL level player who has not gotten a fair shake at that level. Let me ask you this. Now, I mean, you asked this as a question. You didn't put it up as an official poll like we did. So, you don't have actual statistical data. But from what you gathered, it was pretty damn close, man. It was kind of split down the middle. So fans seem to have a pretty divided opinion on that. What were your thoughts on that? And what are your thoughts on that? Because, again, we spent so much time, Joe, talking about a lot of these young guys, Quinn, Paterka, obviously Owen Power's up now. Even guys who are, firmly established like Darlene. He had a cup of coffee this year with the Sabres. Didn't really work out. But to your point, man, is it because he didn't get a fair shake, or is he just really good at the HL level, but not quite there at the NHL level? And we have known many Amherst in the past to be like that. What are your thoughts? I think this is a really good topic.
Yeah, I the only reason I asked was because I was honestly curious. I talk with Lance every week. I talk with a couple of the other guys on the beat just to see, just to kind of get a feel like where what they think or what their opinion is of them.
Sure.
And because you get stuck in your own little world. It's a little bit of a closed circle, I guess, where you just you hear those opinions, just kind of like okay. But I wanted to know what people thought of them, and obviously the only people that are going to answer are people that are watching a lot of the Sabres and or the Amherst.
Sure.
So I was really curious to know what the feeling was, and you're right, it was basically down the middle. A lot of people thought like, no, this him having this kind of success in Rochester is his peak. Like this is where he'll be the absolute best. But there was an equal number of people that were just like, man, I wish the Sabres had had more of an opening for him in the lineup because I think he could do really well there. And I'm like, well, I mean, he could have a role in the lineup. He's just, he has to carve his way into it is the thing. But that leads to the question: has he gotten a fair shake? 35 NHL games isn't a lot. Like that's a pretty small window. And how many of those came with? I have to look for myself. How many of those came under Ralph Kruger, and how many came with with Granato? That's a big thing. It's a big thing to wonder about. And you know what? Honestly, he's gotten a fair shake there too, because I think he got about 17 games with Ralph, and he's gotten about 18 with Granato. So I mean, both guys got to look at him. Both guys decided like, I don't know, either he's not ready or he's not a fit. Which he's got 51 points in 57 games with the Amherst this year. He's crushing it. He's crushing it in goals in the playoffs. Like they don't get past Belleville without him. Like he's the guy. He was the the man on the spot for everything. So, is this his way of telling the organization like, hey, re-sign me? Like I can help out. Whether it's I'm sure they know he can help out Rochester. Like that's not up for debate. But the question is, can he crack the lineup with Buffalo, and can he play the way that they want him to, and fit in to the scheme and do things the way they want him to there? Considering that the AHL and the NHL team are supposed to kind of play similar enough styles so that it's seamless when guys get called up. I mean, to me, that tells me there's a role for him at the NHL level, but like you're not putting him in your top 6, which might be the problem. Like, because I mean, you're not putting him in the top 6 in the NHL. You're just not.
Right.
Like that's unless he starts scoring at a at a rate that like Jeff Skinner did a couple of years back where he scored 40. Unless he's scoring at that kind of rate in the NHL, he's not cracking the top 6. Like it's just not happening that way. And when you've got a guy that maybe his set of skills are better meant for offense than they are defense. No, I don't think he's that bad of a defender. But I'm not watching as closely in Rochester, so I don't really pick up on a lot of that stuff personally. But you have to wonder, like, man, like the guy playing like that, you got to keep him, right? Like, there was a rumor that he was going to sign in Switzerland after the season because he didn't really get, a healthy crack at the NHL, or he didn't make it to the NHL, whatever it is. But like, this dude wants to play in the NHL. Like, I just can't see him bailing out on that unless, a Swiss team throws a bucket of money at him. I just can't see him. I just can't see him, going away from that. But, I think he's a restricted free agent after this season. Like, me personally, I'm keeping him. Like, sign him to a one-way contract so that if he does go back to Rochester, he then becomes the richest guy playing in Rochester.
Or maybe a decent trade chip.
Yeah, I mean, there's that. There's that possibility too. And I don't think the Sabres organization is really in a spot to give away depth guys. I mean, unless it's a kind of deal where it's like, this absolutely 100% makes us better at the NHL level. I'm just not going to hand out guys that can help you when, if guys aren't playing well at the NHL level, or guys get hurt. Guys are going to get hurt. But like, if he's a guy that's like one of your first call ups, or if he's already up with the team as a guy who's in and out, I don't really want to give away a guy that can do that kind of stuff. Now, maybe it's fool's gold. Maybe he is a guy that's like like we say with baseball players, he's a quadruple A player. Maybe he's just, a guy that's just going to be an excellent to borderline great AHL guy and just can't get it done. Maybe that's the case. But I think the thing is, we don't know yet. And I think that's where that's a big reason why this question made a lot of sense, because we don't really know. You get 17 games with Kruger, 18 with Granato. Like, what do you know? I don't think you really know for sure what you got.
I was going to say it would be an extremely unfair comparison that use Tage Thompson as an example. But that said,
No.
I mean, but my point was Tage Thompson was a guy that a lot of people, including myself, were ready to cast off as just another dude who's in this organization. And now we see what happens. And again, I'm not suggesting that he's going to become Tage whatsoever, but
I mean,
patience, more patience could be the answer.
Yeah, I mean, like, that comparison is going to happen no matter what from now on. Like that,
absolutely.
Like that's going to be. It's like what happened with the Bills with Allen. Like, people are going to be like, wow, you don't
outlier guys, guys.
Like
a guy that happen often, right?
Right, like a guy who the first couple of years you're just like, oh, geez, like, when's this guy going to get it together? In Tage's case was like, is he going to score any goals? Allen's case is like, can he stop throwing the interceptions? Like, can he get more consistent? Yes, they both did. Now, obviously, we'll see what happens with Tage next season. Because, I mean, if it's a 1 year flash in the pan thing, well, like, that's the disappointment. But, like, I don't think it's going to be. I think maybe he won't score at the same volume, but, like, I don't see any reason why he can't. Like that. I mean, his game has changed that much. So, but like, it's an unfair thing to compare that to guys that are just kind of like doing this at that level where you're like, man, maybe he's a guy, and it's like, oh, well, maybe he's like Tage. Put him in the right spot, he'll blow up. And it's like, I don't know. I don't know whether that's. I mean, Arttu isn't a guy that Granato's known since he was 16, 17 years old. Like, Granato knew Tage back when he was in the U.S. program, so. He had a better idea of how to use a guy like that from back then. So, that's different. And you know what? Arttu couldn't be more opposite of what Tage is. Arttu's like 5'7".
Right.
He's a fire hydrant. You can't knock him off his feet. He's a tough, scrappy guy down low, and he's got a nice shot. It's not no one has an Olofsson shot, but like, he can rip it. If you set him up for a 1T, he's gonna rip it. But yeah, it's just. I wonder if it's just a thing where he's a guy who needs to be in a top six to be able to have that kind of success. And if you've got him in a limited role, you're not going to get the best out of him. I wonder if that's what the case is for him, which, I mean, hey, if you trade him to Arizona and he's playing second line minutes for the Coyotes, which he probably would, maybe he lights it up and people are just like, oh, why don't we keep that guy? It's like, well, where are you putting him in the lineup?
right.
Is he taking Olofsson's spot? No. Is he gonna get a spot over Quinn? No. Like, it's questions like that you have to answer. And I don't know, maybe I've just talked myself into thinking like, maybe they should deal him, but like, I mean, but like, that's,
I'm certainly thinking that as you're talking. I'm like,
but like that's what I mean though. Like, if you're only going to get the best out of him by putting him with the best offensive players on your team, maybe that's a hindrance. I mean, that's certainly something that other teams would look at and be like, I don't think so, man. Like that, like we need to have that guy in our third, fourth line.
There's the fire hydrant.
Or
Or
that was an ambulance
truck.
Yeah, I can tell the difference between the sirens now, which is great. But
it took almost.
But yeah, like I don't know, like I don't know. It's tough because I like Arttu. I think he's a very good player. And I think he's a guy who can help. But like I said, if he needs to be, in a better offensive setup, then I think that's not really gonna do it. Now, the Sabres become a team that pushes with all four lines. They push offense with all four, which, if your energy line can keep teams hemmed in, they can score goals too. But to me, I don't know. I look at it. He's a guy who can contend for a spot in the lineup. I don't see a good reason to move a guy like that unless, there's stuff that we just don't know. I mean, Adams and Granato and Seth Appert would know best.
I think it's become a fascinating little potential storyline for next season. And the fun part is, for me, the funny part I should say, is between before he went on this little goal scoring rampage in the playoffs so far, in your tweet, honestly, between all these young guys that are up in Buffalo for the last couple of months, and then of course Quinn and Peterka down there or up in Rochester, I forgot about him. It's like I forgot about him. You reminded me. And one other quick note about the Sabres too. We'll talk about it next week more. They did so the draft lottery was on Tuesday as expected. They did not win, but neither did Vegas. So they're picking 9th and they're picking 16th, which I think we all expected. I just wanted to throw that out there. I'm going to start doing some homework because I'm going to try to learn about, say, the top 20 prospects. Actually, not top 20. The first, well, actually, no, because the Sabres could package and move up if they wanted to. I'd say after the first 3 guys, like maybe 4 through 20, I'm going to start learning more about so that we could have some discussions leading up to the draft. But I'm happy with the way things played out. Of course, I would have liked them to won. Pretty cool that Shane Wright's going to go to Montreal. I'll admit that. I mean, that's going to be good for the team. I think it's going to be good for the league and good for him down the road. It's
tough for the Sabres to see another number 1 pick wind up in the Eastern Conference and also in your division. That's kind of
but it's fun. What's not fun, and God, what a perfect segue. I guess that was, I don't like it. Last week's starting 5 draft. This was not good. We did best movies or best MCU movies, I should say. Joe won with 74% of the vote, and I only collected 26. So Joe, who had the first pick, by the way, and did very well with it, he took Thor Ragnarok, Infinity War, Captain America, The Winter Soldier, Black Panther, and Iron Man. I took Endgame, Spider-Man No Way Home, Avengers Age of Ultron, Guardians of the Galaxy, and the original Thor. Let me say this, man. I'm embarrassed. I am. Some losses hurt more than others, or some losses are more embarrassing than others. This is very embarrassing for a couple reasons. I spent so much time since April 12th, because that's when I started. I binge watched all 27 MCU movies to get before Doctor Strange came out last week, which, by the way, I have seen that now. And I thought I was really locked in, and I thought I had a pretty good pulse of what fans think as well. Although ultimately it's my opinion,
right?
And that's what we do here. But taking Age of Ultron was just inexcusable, and I got buried. I did not know how much people did not like that movie. I should have taken Avengers Civil War or Captain America Civil War. I should have taken that. I think that would have played well. I did like the original Thor, but
I did too.
I don't top 5 or a top 10 worthy pick. Probably not. I mean, from top to bottom, you didn't have any holes in your game whatsoever. I still stand by. I think Endgame was better than Infinity. I think that's kind of divided. People have a mixed opinion, and I can understand both of them. But I should have taken, in hindsight, I should have taken Civil War, and I should have taken, and if you remember, I tried to steal an extra pick because it was my birthday, and you still wouldn't allow it, which people told me I should have had extra picks for my birthday, by the way. But the original Captain America, with Steve Rogers, I enjoyed that movie a lot. I should have taken it. I think my lack of respect for Iron Man hurts me too. Robert Downey Jr. I think
maybe,
well, at least again, because you got him with the last pick. I could have taken Iron Man in the second or third round. I think that would have played better well. But let's put it this way, Joe. I would say this. If we were sports franchises right now, the columnists would be putting me on the hot seat.
Yeah.
I think
they
people inside
put you on the hot seat a long time ago.
People inside Team Pat Moran, they would be questioning some of the decision making that's going on, and maybe it would be time for a change somewhere in my front office. Because, again, for as much prep time as I put into that category, which was a handpicked category by me, it was just fucking an absolutely despicable, brutal, embarrassing display of drafting, and rightfully so. I got no complaints. A lot of times I'm like, yo, Joe might have won this, but I don't think it should have been a blowout like that. Right. This got the result that it deserved. I'm going to admit that.
You mentioned the GM thing. You're very good at pulling some like 80s, 90s New York Jets stuff sometimes with the picks.
This was
like like if we had a live audience watching us do this, which is terrifying. That's a terrifying thought. But like people would be booing. They would have been like you picked Ultron, you would have heard groans and people booing for that one. Like that, I even told you after you picked it, I was like, "Are you sure? Are you sure you want Ultron?"
Say that too.
Like, okay, like, all right, man. Like, because I knew it was coming. I knew what was coming, I was like, "You handed me this, but I'm not gonna. I wasn't gonna tell you that straight out." Because I mean, listen, I've gotten bit by that before, where I was like, "I freaking owned him this time," and I get trashed.
Sometimes I'll admit this. Sometimes I'll make a pick, and I expect the audience to not like it, but yet I'll do it anyway. Because I'm like, I'm going to stand by the. I'm going to stand by this. I'm like, I knew I was going to get buried when I drafted Jimmy Snuka in our wrestling rankings, but I just remember growing up absolutely loving the dude, man. So I said, I'm going to stand by that.
Like I had no idea. Show.
I had no, but I knew I was going, and I knew I was going to get backlash. I did not know that people were going to hate on Age of Ultron like they did. That really threw me off. It caught me by surprise. I'm not going to try to deny that.
I'll blame that on you being kind of brand new you immersed yourself completely. Like you've done something like there's probably still a handful of those movies I haven't even watched yet where I'm just kind of like, all right, I'll get to it. But like you went all in. So maybe it's just a case of where like you haven't cleared the forest yet. You haven't found your way out. You haven't like dipped into like the culture to know what people are big fans of, what people don't like. But like you picked Ultron, and I was like, I mean, I roasted you when you did your first top 10 ranking, and I saw Ultron. I was like, Ultron 4? Like, yeah, I think you had it as high as 4th, and I was like, what?
Yeah,
like, what are you doing, man?
It's still in my top 5. I might have to change that though. Not even so much because other people are saying it, but because now I've realized that I've had time to reflect on a lot of these movies, and really, sometimes it takes some time to digest them and really soak them in and understand a lot about the MCU stuff. And I realized now how just thrown together and chaotic that movie really was. And plus, the one complaint I did have from the get-go is I hated James Spader's voice. That bothered me. I felt like I was listening to Robert California from The Office for 2 hours. Didn't like it. But anyway, long story short, that was an ass whooping that was deserved. And you've now won 2/3 of these polls. So, wow. I mean, you're at 66% you've done. All right, so this week is going to be, I think this should be fun. We'll see how it plays out.
Be fun. Just, we'll see how it turns out.
Well, it's going to be fun to do. I mean, obviously, we haven't drafted yet, and we're doing this live, so it's not like I know who Joe's picking or vice versa. We're going to do the best rock band frontmen. And again, rock music, I mean, it's self-explanatory. We're talking about rock bands, any era, and the best frontman for, whether it's them being famous or just really talented, whatever it may be, whatever your interpretation wants to be. You went first last week and you nailed it with Thor Ragnarok, which really caught me. I think it kind of threw me off a little bit, by the way, last week, because I was completely expecting Endgame or Infinity War, one of them. Anyway,
that's fair.
You went first last week. I'm going to go first this week. And look, I don't know. This is the thing. I'm a rock guy to an extent.
Right.
I don't know if there's a right answer or not. I think some people might agree with me. I think some people might not even have this guy in the top 5. I don't know. But I got first pick. And I think the best rock band frontman ever for me is Freddie Mercury from Queen. Again, I don't know how that's going to play over. Dude was just so good, man. So flamboyant. And I'll never forget. And again, I'm not going to be able to describe rock music probably as much in detail as you could. But I do remember Live Aid, and I remember that crowd and him just absolutely having that crowd in the palm of his hand. I think, for me personally, at least anyway, I don't think anyone's ever done it better than Freddie Mercury. It kind of sucks that, I mean, what was he? He was only 45 years old when he died in 1991. Queen was formed in 1970, and I know they went through their breakup for a while and stuff. But anyway, yeah, man, not a lot of explanation I can really provide there. I'm gonna pick Freddie Mercury. You're up. You're gonna have two.
Yeah, no, I will never disagree with Freddie Mercury. Like Freddie was incredible, and it's very sad how how he died and everything, because he's just, I mean, God, commanding Wembley Stadium the way he did, holy geez.
Yeah,
that's something else. This was a category where, picking first or picking, second, third, I think was okay either way, because there's so many dudes. But my next pick is Robert Plant from Led Zeppelin.
Okay. I had him high. Yeah.
He's all you have to do is watch The Song Remains the Same, their weird rock movie where it's half live footage from them playing MSG and half like weird dream like side movie bits that they did, and just have just think of how he commands the scene, and like every song he just nails it. But also, like, I don't know what they were thinking having the cameraman be in the pit underneath him, but like you're getting a real zoomed in shot of his hog in tight pants, which is just it's terrifying. It's a terrifying sight to see, because you're just watching, you're just kind of like, oh man, okay, all right, okay, all right, okay, man, like cool, like that's nice, thanks. I don't need that anymore. But I'm gonna go. There's so many dudes. There's so many men and women. It's not just, well, are we sticking to front men, or are we doing?
I said front man. I mean, I guess technically,
okay.
Technically, you can pick a woman.
I'm just thinking, like, maybe down the road or something. But
I'll pick Ann Wilson. I'll take all 10 from heart. But anyway,
that's fair. See, there's picks that make sense, like for like in general, but there's picks that I just don't want to make, and like there's one I don't. There's one obvious one that I don't want to make, so I'm gonna skip them. But I'm gonna go Roger Daltrey. Like,
okay,
like these are very boomer picks. I get it, but like I got to see the Who a couple years back at KeyBank Center, and like even though he's like 70 something years old, just an amazing singer, amazing performer, and just like, go back and listen to Quadrophenia and just imagine what it's like to see that live, ideally with, Keith Moon playing drums. But Daltrey, like, man, just just an absolute, like, first rock star, really, like guy who just like showed up and was like, yep, this is what we're doing, and I'm going to own it.
I think I know the guy that you said you're not going to take. But I hope you take them. I'm going to. Okay. And again, I'm going to keep hammering this point home. I am not, nor can I provide the context with some of these that you can. Mm-hmm. But they're the fucking Rolling Stones. I can't not.
That's not who I was thinking of. No.
Oh, well, I can't not take Mick Jagger. I had to take Mick Jagger. I mean, he's, again, along with different ways, but Freddie Mercury, just such a flamboyant front man. I mean, who doesn't? You could be 12 years old and you probably know who Mick Jagger is and who the Rolling Stones are. I mean, just an iconic rock band. I really can't provide much more than that. So I'm going to take Mick Jagger. The other one I can, because, and I don't know, this might rank high on some people's list. He might not even be in the top 20 of others. But my personal favorite rock band growing up was Journey. So I got to go with Steve Perry. I love Steve Perry. Obviously, Journey's best music by far was when Steve Perry was there. But that Frontier album, the Escape album, I remember those albums so well. Journey was one of the first, if it wasn't the first, it was the second concert I've ever been to in my life. Mm-hmm. Just a big Journey fan. I love Steve Perry's voice. I mean, I say this all the time. You remember that song? It's not a rock song, but We Are the World, USA for Africa, when like every singer on earth got together. Steve Perry had one line in that song, and he crushed it. It was the best line. He just sung it better than anyone else. And I've said that probably 100 times. But anyway, so I'm going to go Mick Jagger, and I'm going to go Steve Perry. I got a feeling this is playing out, that the guys that you really want, you're getting your pick of all of them. And the guys that I wanted, I'm getting my pick of all of them as well. So we'll see how it plays out. But you got two coming up.
Yeah, this is one where I think you can. I mean, I'm hoping you can get away with being a little bit weird. Not just like there's 1,000 different like top 10, 25,000 lists of things like this where you can just like, I'll just carve off of this.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this is one where your own taste can kind of maybe nudge your way in. At least I'm hoping, because my next pick is Bruce Dickinson, from Iron Maiden. People may not. I mean, if you haven't, listen, Iron Maiden rules. Okay, let's not
sure.
Not get,
yeah, for sure.
Let's not get that crossed up. But probably more people remember the character of Bruce Dickinson, played by Christopher Walken, in the More Cowbell skit. So, so like that, there is some mild pop culture nonsense there with Bruce Dickinson, but the dude, holy crap, man, what a voice. He can still bring it now. Like, they still tour. He flies the friggin' airplane, man. Like, he's a friggin' maniac, and he's so good. He's so great. And yeah, like that to me is a guy that like stood out, where I was like, yeah, that's a guy I gotta pick him. Similarly, you know what? I don't want to get caught in a metal rut here, because it'd be very easy to do that. No, I'll go. I'll stay in the metal hole. Ozzy Osbourne.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, leading Black Sabbath. Like,
I was taking him next if you didn't, by the way.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
not that
I feel a little better about.
I was gonna say, or not. Maybe you should not feel good about that. I was going to take him next. The way I've been thinking lately.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen. If anybody's got an argument about friggin' Ozzy, take a hike, man. Like, that's crazy. That'd be nuts. Ozzy, like, even like Ozzy now, where he's definitely, he doesn't have the fastball. He hasn't had the fastball in a while, but like, still owns the stage, can still get everybody fired up. Like, the whole place goes nuts when start playing Crazy Train. Everybody loses their mind, either good or bad reasons now, because it gets played every freaking sports game. But sporting event, sports game. What's wrong with me? I gotta stop. Like,
at least you can pronounce hockey names.
I got that going for me, which is nice. But yeah, no, Ozzy, man, Ozzy rules, dude.
I'm in a tough predicament here, man. Bruce Dickinson, I'm going to admit, was not one that was on my radar, but it makes a lot of sense. Ozzy was going to be my next one. I have 2 picks left, and I have 3 people that I really want to take. I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to prioritize how I think I should. My first one, kind of like with Journey, I feel like I'm going to go back to my personal upbringing, and I've said this before. I think they're one of the greatest American rock bands of all time. I really enjoyed them. That was Van Halen, and led by David Lee Roth at that time, not Sammy Hagar, Van Halen. Which, by the way, we did a Van Halen song draft before, which you crushed me on, because I fucked up and took a couple Sammy Hagar songs and got absolutely buried.
Learned a lesson, didn't you?
I did. David Lee Roth was awesome with Van Halen, man. I mean, again, it didn't last forever. I think he was there. I'm looking it up. He was there from 74 to 85. So roughly a decade or so. I loved Van Halen, and I like David Lee Roth. So that's the first one I'm going to take. Oh, man, this is tough. Because I feel like this one's an awesome frontman. The other one's just an amazing lead singer of a band. And I kind of feel like, there's a difference in a way, but in a way they're one and the same. Fuck, I usually don't get like this, man. I'm usually pretty decisive. I'm going to pay homage to his career and the band's career, which has been around literally since before either of us were born. Steve Tyler from Aerosmith. I mean, they've had some iconic hits, and they've been around forever, and they've been making hits forever. Again, I'm not the biggest Steven Tyler fan on earth. I'm not going to try to pretend like I'm this crazy Aerosmith fan. This is kind of one of those almost like respect picks, just their body of work around forever. I will say, though, I do remember this in the mid 80s with Run DMC when they redid Walk This Way, because I was a huge hip hop fan as a kid. That was a game changer. I just, again, he's a leading front man and a very good one. So I'll live with that. So I'm going to go Steven Tyler, my last pick. You got the last one of the draft coming up now.
There's so many ways. There's going to be so many names on the board. We're going to get yelled at about all of them. Like, let's be real. We're going to get screamed at by plenty of people about why didn't you take so-and-so? Well, we took these other people. That's why. I'm going to go with my heart here because I screwed up. I screwed up in our Chris draft. I'm going with Chris Cornell.
Okay. Good.
Dude, if you ever got to see Soundgarden live or see him solo, you know exactly why I picked him. He's like, the voice, the presence on stage, like he didn't have to be like a, pump your fists, go crazy, get everybody fired up guy. Like, he didn't have to do that. Wasn't necessary at all. He just was so talented, such a great singer. And he made you want the show to last 5 hours. Like that's like, I got to see him solo once at a kind of a smaller place around Albany, and he played for 2.5 hours. And I was like, it's over already? Like, what do you mean? It's like, oh man, like, come on, you can play more. Right. But yeah, oh geez, what a voice. Just what a voice. I didn't, some people like Audio Slave still. I mean, the first album was good, but the Soundgarden stuff, man, geez, like so good. And what got me thinking about him was like that draft, but also like a James Bond conversation came up. Yeah, here's another idea for a draft: James Bond songs, James Bond title songs. Like I don't know if you're a Bond guy at all, but like I think that would be a really interesting one.
Let's do it. To go through. I could get into that, man.
Because his song is freaking amazing. It's so good, and it's the first. It's from Casino Royale, so it's the first Daniel Craig one, and like this song hits you in the mouth like to start the movie. Like the songs are always kind of like they're never really that wild or crazy or anything like that. This one was a straight up like rock song smacked in the face. Like it's such a great tune.
I feel like you're kind of giving away a future pick.
Yeah, no, listen, if we do it next week, you know what my number one pick is.
Let's all right. So before we recap, I got a couple names that I have written down, and we're gonna call these honorable mentions. I said I was going kind of back and forth because I'm not sure how great he's known as a front man per se, but Eddie Vedder from Pearl Jam was somebody that I was strongly considering. Of course, you can't talk Eddie Vedder without saying Kurt Cobain as well. So, I mean, that's someone else that I'm sure people might have a take on. Some people would say Bono from U2, but I would be a fraud because I'm just not a U2 guy.
Yeah.
In fact, I took U2 in a rock band or some kind of rock, and I got, again, one of the things you kicked my ass in. I don't remember what it was, but I remember U2, and I got a lot of fucking shit for it.
I took them in one